Hey, what's up? It's Comic95, the Savior. For this video, I want to switch things up and we're going to talk about something positive for today. So I want to tell you guys 20 things that I love about Japanese people. So no negativity for this video. As always, of course, just like with my negative things, the positives do not apply to everyone. There are definitely times in which some of these positives can be negative, and of course not every Japanese person does the things on this list, but these are things that I find the majority of people to do, and I most certainly love that about Japanese people. Now keep in mind that I said Japanese people and not the country Japan as a whole. These are behaviors, actions, and thoughts that I notice that Japanese people tend to have, which I am appreciative of. So anyway, let's get to it. Number 1. Japanese people are extremely considerate of those around them. Whether you are Japanese or not, for the most part, they care a lot about how their actions affect other people. So for example, whether it is them avoiding saying anything that might hurt your feelings, or leaving something in a bad condition, or just in general, pretty much everything in their day-to-day life, they think about, okay, if I do this, how is this going to hurt or affect the next person? It's not a matter of me, I just want to get served, I just want this, and I don't care about the other people, but instead it's, if I do this, what will happen to the person behind me? How will this hurt and or affect them? Will this make things hard for them? They're very thoughtful and considerate of the people around them, and I really like that, and it made me, think about myself, like how entitled and bad, I am or was as, an American, feeling entitled all the time and everything has to be right now and my way. So I absolutely love that about Japanese people, their consideration for others. Number 2. They're very, very understanding and patient when you make mistakes. So whether it be a mistake with, you saying something by accident or you doing something by accident, they will not try to start a fight and or an argument with you like plenty of other people do. For example, in America, if you were to, accidentally push into someone or knock down something, it can cause a huge fight and argument. I complained about this before with my own race. Nobody says anything then, when I was talking about how when I was a teenager, I went to the convenience store and this woman was standing way far back. I didn't even know she was in line. So without asking, I didn't even see her. I walked up to the register to go pay for gas for my mom and to buy, I think, some chips or something. And she went off on me. The cashier was laughing at me. He was Indian or something. And so she was going off on me and was calling me a bitch and all kind of names. Mind you, I'm a teenager. I'm 15, 16 years old, losing her mind. All because she thought I tried to cut her in line. And she was black just like me. So I had another woman, once again I was a teenager, accidentally hit her car door. Her car was parked too close. And so she lost it. She was flipping birds and everything inside the car. And so she was so petty. She was in her boyfriend's car. She gets out of her boyfriend's car. She's in the passenger side, goes around to the right side, and it's cursing me out while my window was rolled up inside my mom's car. My mom was in the currency exchange. It was just really bad and ghetto. She gets out, goes into his car, and drives it and reparks the car so she's further away from our door so it won't happen again. And so I'm thinking bitch, you should have done that in the first place. So anyway, long story short, I can think of a million other stories that I've had with my own race. Not to say white people can't do it too, but we all got problems, y'all. Let's just talk about it. So anyway, my point is, I find that it's a lot easier to get into arguments in America. Whether the person is white or black, they're very argumentative. People want to get angry. They love finding reasons to get mad. If you look at them the wrong way, you're too close to them. That type of stuff doesn't happen in Japan. People laugh, smile. You do something by accident. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. They don't make a big deal. I love that about Japanese people. Makes you feel at home. It, keeps down the anxiety. I have panic attacks. I have really bad social anxiety. So I love the fact that people understand when I do make mistakes, which do inevitably happen, especially when you're in a country where, you don't speak the language fluently and you're learning everything. So it's really nice about this country. About the people. Number 3, they do not steal. Now, of course, use common sense. Yes, there are people that do steal, but thieves and stealing is extremely uncommon and rare. I've left down $300 pairs of Beats by Dr. Dre Studio Beats headphones for over a month, almost 2 months, you guys, at the train station. A very busy train station. I think it was I forgot the name of it, Shinigawa, Oh god, I forgot the name of the Tokyo stations. Anyway, I left it at Theyre, and that's a really major tourist destination too, because you have to go to that station to get to immigration. So, or if you're coming from the airport or going through, it's a lot going on there. They turned it in, everything was in perfect condition, the battery was left at the same percentage, nobody touched them. And they were pretty brand new at that time, but they left them alone. I've left cash down, I've left my IC card, hundreds of dollars, I've left expensive bags, wallets, everything. People do not touch your stuff. Thieves are rare in Japan, which is great if you have expensive tastes like I do. The other great thing about that too is, like, have you ever been at a restaurant and like you are eating and you don't want to have to like get up and take all of your crap with you because you're alone, like you're afraid, or even like you're with someone but like you don't trust them, you think they're gonna go through their stuff? Most people, of course there are some nosy people that you shouldn't trust, but most people will not even like look through your stuff. They will leave it alone, they won't look at your phone, they won't go inside your bag, etc. If you're on a date, the guy probably will look through your phone, I ain't finna lie, but like I said, in general, most people don't do this type of stuff, and they most certainly will not go inside of your purse and like go through your belongings and whatnot. They respect personal space and privacy, and people commonly leave their bags and wallet down to reserve seats. You most certainly cannot do that in America, especially not as a tourist. Someone will grab your stuff and go, and what can you do about it? Nothing. And it's funny because it happens, or shall I say sad, happens to Japanese people all the time when they go abroad and study in other countries, because they're so used to the safety and security of their own. They have to, retrain their brain to stop leaving their wallet in their back pocket, which guys commonly do, including my boyfriend, he's had his iPhone stolen twice in Vietnam in less than a year. He's literally had, it'll be a, transvestite guy or whatever. I don't know the terminology, you guys. I'm not going through all of that crap with you. I don't care. Sue me, fuck me, get off my channel. But anyway, the person will it's a guy that's either a cross-dresser. I don't know if this is like a disguise or if this person is legitimately gay or whatever it is, but they'll be dressed as a woman. So if they identify as a woman, whatever, they will I don't know how to explain it. They'll distract you. They'll either steal your bag, your wallet, they'll cut your bag off, do all type of crazy stuff, and jump on a motorcycle and be gone. And the police aren't going to do anything because they get cases like this all the time. They don't care about trying to help you. And the excuse is basically, well, they can't. There's a million people that look and or have done the exact same thing. How can they, they've pretty much just given up hope, I assume. I don't know, but they make no effort to get your stuff back to you. His maid has stolen money from out of his apartment, and I had to put my business out there, but me and him have actually gotten into arguments over this, because to me it's okay, it's one thing for somebody to steal your stuff on the street. How are you gonna let your maid steal money? You let your maid steal money from you? And he just accepted the apology from his landlord. It's you're a landlord. Long story short, his landlord, the place that he's staying at, because it's too complicated, you guys. Basically, he has money where he's at because Vietnamese people, for the most part, their money is worth significantly less than the US dollar and yen. So his place is expensive by Vietnamese standards, but it's not really a nice place by Japanese or American standards. With that said and done, he's staying at a company apartment, and he basically has a maid that does his laundry, does all the cleaning for him, because most Japanese guys don't know how to do these things, and since his beautiful girlfriend isn't there to save him, he has to do stuff himself. So they have a maid that does that for him. Well, his maid has stolen about a few $100s from him, and all he did was accept either a crap apology from the landlord, to my understanding. She might have given him back some money, I don't know, but I'm getting off subject. This video ain't about that. Excuse the cleavage, but okay. Sorry, I got really sidetracked. So let's get back on topic. Anyway, yes, you can trust people here. You don't have to worry about those kinds of things like how you will with other countries. And this is something that even Japanese people realize, or shall I say they don't realize, until they study abroad or visit another country, and they realize how distrusting they have to be towards other people, unlike in their own country. Number 4, they are very punctual. Now, if you're someone that's very timely like myself, you probably hate people that, are late to everything, that wake up late, always have excuses, can never be on time for events. You don't have to worry about that here in Japan. Most people here take time very seriously. They will go out of their way to try to avoid, being late for things, whether it is a date or their job. They are more likely to come early than they are to be even a minute late. And when I say on time, people normally come before the actual time. Anywhere from about, 5 to 15 minutes is when they aim to be there. legitimately running late is a rare thing to happen here. So I really like how timely people are here. Punctuality is really great, especially if you are a teacher or someone that does appointment-based work. It helps you to organize and plan things a lot better, whether it is your dates or your work. I love that about Japanese people, how considerate they are of other people's time. Number 5. This one actually shocked me a lot when I first came here. But heterosexual men and women have no problem with complimenting each other. This was very strange for me coming from America, where normally people are very, competitive. Now don't get me wrong, I've had a ton of girls compliment me and say nice things about me, but for the most part, girls look at me in disgust. So whether they legitimately, just hate me, can't stand my guts, and think I'm the ugliest bitch in the world, I highly doubt those two things, but more so rather people would just dislike me for no reason. I will admit that I was very ugly years ago. I look better now, mainly thanks to tricking people with makeup and hair, learning how to do things a little bit better for myself. But I was very rough looking when I was younger, so it wasn't even a matter of people being jealous of me in that sense, but people always thought that I was mixed when I was going to school, and I have different experiences with school. So not to get onto myself too much, long story short, when I went to school with, white kids, they didn't really care so much. It was just do you like white music? And when I went to school with black kids, it was, I got a good amount of attention from guys. It was positive, but for girls, it was really hard for me to make female friends because it was very cliquish. So people either, I was the outcast to the side because they were jealous because all the boys in the classroom liked me, or, they felt jealous because they thought that I was mixed and so I'm better than everyone else type BS mentality, which was really unfair to me. In Japan, not the case. People oftentimes, just see me and they're like, oh my god, you're so cute. Girls will come up to you and compliment you. If you're at a bar, they're like, oh, kawaii. And, say stuff like that. They'll, go on for minutes just complimenting you. And it's so weird because these Japanese girls are so beautiful, and it's oh my god, you're calling me cute? I look like shit compared to you. No, you're beautiful. So you can you can go back and forth just arguing with these people, and it's so funny and cool to see. Same thing goes for guys. Guys have no problem saying he's ikemen, or he's so handsome, blah blah blah. They'll do that type of stuff. So in America, people will call you gay or say that you're being fake and phony, whatever. But no, they really mean it. From the bottom of their heart, they really think you're attractive, and they're not jealous of you. They're jealous of you, but in a good way. They'll be I wish I was you, but they're not trying to sabotage you like how people do in America, where they compliment you, but it's in a why do all the ugly girls have long hair type thing. So the same thing goes for guys. I think for guys it's even more surprising because men rarely compliment each other. So don't get me wrong, people aren't just gonna walk up to you and lick your boots type thing. But they might as well, especially if you're inside of a smaller place, such as at a party or you're at a bar. It's totally normal and you're gonna see it a lot. Girls will just come up to you, compliment your outfit, compliment your makeup, your hair, tell you how cute you are, and just make you feel good about yourself. And I absolutely love that. They don't even have to be your friend. They have nothing to gain from it. Just total strangers, just letting you know, hey, you look good. Number 7. Unlike a lot of the dumb foreigners that I get in my comment sections as well as in my inbox and what I read online, most Japanese people here are actually open to correction when it comes to cultural sensitivity. They do not know any better, but they are definitely willing to learn better. I noticed that when you talk to people about racism and things like that, while at first they might deny, oh no, we're not racist, we don't do whatever, when you explain how the things that you do make you feel and how and why it is racist, instead of being ignorant or being phony and playing the oh I don't see color type thing, or acting as though there's a reason and excuse for everything, they'll tell you what they honestly think from the bottom of their heart. And instead of trying to defend ignorance like I see a lot of Americans and Europeans do, they will instead say, oh, I never thought of it this way, and they'll correct themselves and they'll try to actually do better. They actually listen to you. When you try to make arguments like this with people who are white for the most part, this conversation, falls on deaf ears. They don't want to hear it. And it's oh, you're playing the race card. Stop doing that BS here. Then go to another country, blah, blah, blah. This isn't a safe space type talk. And it's really amusing because, once again, most of the people that are saying this stuff in Japan, they're not Japanese. So whatever, we can get into that on another day. I've already talked about this before. But I really love that about Japanese people. They are open as long as you are talking to them respectfully. Of course, do not come off standoffish or seem like a bitch. You can make a point without being rude and disrespectful. Again, a lot of the time when people do racist stuff to you here, it's done out of innocence, not because there's some hardcore, Japanese nationalist type thing. More so, it's rather innocently ignorant statements and stuff, such as the assumption that you can't do stuff, can't understand things, or that you prefer things simply because you are not Japanese, and insert whatever race or nationality that you happen to be. I love that about Japanese people. Everyone has to start and learn somewhere, and I think they're on a great track. The fact they're open to, listening to other people. And keep in mind, listening and, trying to understand people doesn't necessarily mean those outside forces are always right about everything. But just the fact that you're willing to listen and understand and try to get where people are coming from means and says a lot. Whereas in my home country, this type of stuff gets shut down. You talk about race or anything sensitive, everyone loses their stuff, and instead of accepting the fact, oh, we can do better with this. Oh, you're right. Maybe that is rude. I never thought about this because I'm not a minority. Instead, people get angry over it and try to defend their racist beliefs, their racist behavior in Japan. While at first people they'll say, oh, it's because of English, it's because of whatever. They actually listen, open up to you, and try to understand you. And I love that about Japanese people. Only someone intelligent and that's a real adult and mature can actually do that, because it takes a lot. Nobody likes to be wrong. No sane person wants to be a racist. Even racists don't normally label themselves as racist, and that's a huge misunderstanding that people have. Most people that are prejudiced and are racist don't call themselves racist unless they're a nationalist. Then of course they're hardcore and they're totally for it. But even then, a lot of those people, if you tell them like, oh, you're a racist, they're like, no, I'm trying to save my country. So we ain't gonna get into that right now. Let's keep moving on. Number 8. I'm going to contradict myself, as you guys have heard me talk about this before in the past, the opposite of this, and I have a video coming up in the future that's going to contradict me again. But again, we're talking positively here. Contradictions are open. So, Japanese people are extremely encouraging and patient with you, and they understand your lack of Japanese proficiency. I told you guys when I first came to Japan, I knew nothing. I could not read, I could not write, I could not talk, I could not understand. I knew no Japanese words, I could not count 1 to 10. I forgot how to say thank you. I froze up and just completely fell apart within my first 24 hours of being here. And people do not make fun of you for, having bad Japanese or lacking in the skills department, but instead they try to help you. They encourage you. They try to get you to speak more. They smile at you. They don't become frustrated. In America, if you don't know how to speak English and you go like to the DMV, they'll throw the papers up in the air and be cursing you out, but we in America, just get really irritated and aggravated and pissed off and whatnot. That type of stuff does not happen here in Japan. Instead, the people actually apologize to you for their lack of English ability. Go figure. You're in their country and you should be speaking Japanese, but they'll apologize for not being able to accommodate you, and that's great. No matter how nice you may be to the foreigners in your own country, etc., you never really understand how hard it is to speak another language and to live in another country until you actually go there yourself personally. I worked with tourists all the time as a teenager and as a young adult. When I was working downtown Chicago, I dealt with lots of Asian tourists. I used to work at Navy Pier and the Sears Tower, now known as the Willis Tower. I worked on a cruise ship. I did a lot of work dealing with foreign tourists, and while I was never rude to them, I tried to use the little bit of Spanish that I did know. I didn't really know any Japanese at the time. I tried to help as much as I could, but I never really realized how hard it is for them, especially in my country, where people are very rude. They're not understanding. They get frustrated. They don't bother trying to break stuff down for you. They don't try to speak slowly for you. Japanese people are very accommodating, for people that are struggling with Japanese and or they're tourists that have no intention in learning it because they're just here for vacation. Nothing is worse than being made fun of when you're already afraid and self-conscious about your own language ability. And that brings me to number 9. Number 9. Japanese people are very accommodating to their tourists, from having English menus, English signage. They have Korean, Chinese, oftentimes, on their announcements and written on stuff. Sure, we can argue that this is just for tourist dollars, but still, these are all things that America doesn't normally have either, outside of the airport maybe. If you go out into America, it's very rare that a place has a menu available for you in Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, whatever, there's normally just an English menu, and they don't train their staff on how to deal with foreign customers and tourists. You're just taught to do everything the same way, and if you don't get or understand something, you pretty much just end up looking stupid, and it's really embarrassing. And I can think of several situations in which my own coworkers, when I worked at these places downtown in Chicago, were extremely rude to both European and Asian tourists that did not speak English, because they would get frustrated having to constantly repeat directions to them. And while I kind of understood them at the moment, even I realized, like, hey, like, you shouldn't do that. Like, how would you feel if you were in France and you don't speak French, and they're directing you to go somewhere and you can't understand the directions, so it's taking you a while and you're having to come back and ask, like, where do you want me to stand? Stand in this line? So it really humbles you being in another country and not being able to understand everything. Always treat people with respect, and I love the fact, once again, that not just a matter of respect, but that they try to have a lot of resources available for you in multiple languages. So that's really great. And not just that, but even staff. While this can also come off as being prejudiced and annoying when you've been here for a while like me, I'm also understanding of the flip side of it too, that they try to help. From them trying to offer you forks and trying to, try to make things easier for you. They mean well when they do these things, and I do acknowledge, accept, and understand that. And I appreciate that, because while it doesn't help me, it most certainly did help me in the past, and it most certainly will continue to help other tourists and foreigners that come to Japan. It's very, very helpful, very, very useful, and it makes people feel welcome and at home, that people aren't, just doing their job and, going home getting paid. They're not required to try to see if you need a fork. They're not required to talk to you in English. They're doing this out of the goodness and kindness of their heart. Well, of course, there's other shallow reasons to do it, like showing off that they can speak English, etc., or making differences. It's also done from people genuinely meaning well. Like I told you, my boyfriend used to talk to all of his foreign customers in English because he speaks English and Chinese. But I corrected him on that, and he never really thought of that. He meant well. My boyfriend's not racist, but you get what I mean at this point. So let's move on. Number 10. Japanese people are very fashionable with both their hair and their clothing. Japanese men and women tend to spend a lot of time and money on their hair, makeup, and clothing, which I absolutely love. They care a lot about how good they look when they walk out the door. And again, while this can be seen as shallow, materialistic, we can argue about that later. I most certainly love this as someone who loves fashion, loves makeup, skincare, etc. In particular on men, because I love guys. I'm straight. I hate that in America it's seen as gay if you're a guy that tries to take care of himself, like getting manicures, taking care of your nails, etc. I like that men here are on top of their grooming, unlike most foreign men who see this as being feminine or gay. I like that they don't feel that way about those things here, and instead it's, no, I care about how I look, I want to be fashionable, I want to be cute. Number 11. They don't act entitled when they're at, a restaurant or a business. I've personally worked at restaurants and cafes here, and, there's times where it's really busy. There's a wait for the line. There's a wait on food. I might forget to bring somebody, their coffee or, their tea or whatever the case is. And even with me being a foreigner, they never yell at me or call me out my name or, report to my manager, nothing. They're very nice, calm, and patient. And, they just, say, excuse me, like, can you please bring me a bowl? Or, oh, like, you forgot to get, a fork for us. Or, oh, she needs a cup. They're very, very sweet. They're never rude. They're never like, I asked for a grande, not a tall. At Starbucks, like, they're not jerks about stuff. They're not impatient. Whereas Americans, oh, God forbid you mess up their cheap $2 order from McDonald's, they'll lose their crap, be ready to go off on you, talk about how they're never going to go to McDonald's again. Of course, there are bad Japanese customers too, but again, in general, this is not a normal thing for Japanese people here. Overall, they're very, very patient and understanding about how restaurants work. And not just with restaurants, but with businesses. So like at offices and whatnot. They understand that there's a wait. They don't lose their crap because someone that came in after gets served first because their situation can be handled at the moment. They're very, very, very patient and understanding. They don't act entitled. They don't lose their crap because their food wasn't the right temperature when it came out, or their drink isn't, doesn't have as much sugar in it as they want. They nicely ask for stuff. They don't complain, make a big deal, and try to get free stuff off of you like how Americans tend to do. This is not an American exclusive thing. Keep in mind, Europeans do it too, and other Asians. I'm just saying American because I am American and I can speak for myself and my own country. Number 12. They do not change their quality of service or food because of the amount of money that you're paying. Your food will taste just as good. The establishment will have, the same practices as far as the cleanliness goes of everything. They're not going to use dirty machines to make your stuff and dirty dishes. They'll still clean their stuff. They'll still, try to make the presentation and everything look nice no matter how little you're paying. They do not serve you, worse because you're not tipping them, etc. They still provide you with good food, good service, whatever. They go above and beyond regardless of how much you're paying. Not just at restaurants, but even at offices. So if you're doing like paperwork or whatever, they will go out of their way to try to accommodate you and help you. They do not act like jerks or, be really funny about stuff because like, oh, it's not my job. I don't have to do that. You're not paying me much anyway. They act as though you are paying them a lot for the services. There's exceptions to every rule, as I said at the beginning of this video, but for the most part, you will find that you can pay $2 for something and get the same customer service as though you paid $20 for it, which is amazing, and I cannot say that about America. Once again, I'll use McDonald's as an example. Most of the time when you go to McDonald's, you're served poorly because the cashier, doesn't have good training. They're used to getting crap from their customers, and so they get into a bad mood and they start treating everybody like garbage because a lot of their customers are jerks, and it sets, the tone and mood for the day in combination with their low pay and the fact they don't get tips. Whereas in Japan, people working the exact same job. McDonald's employees act like I don't even know how to explain the restaurant. I guess Red Lobster, so the higher end of fast food or chain restaurant type stuff. They act more like that. And don't get me wrong, their service can be bad too, but you get what I'm trying to say. Think of like a high-end retail chain restaurant. That's basically what McDonald's is like here in Japan. And I'm not just talking about McDonald's, I'm just trying to paint a little bit of a picture in you guys' mind, which I kind of did a bad job. But anyway, you get my point. Let's move on. Number 13. They're trustworthy and good at keeping secrets. If you tell someone something personal, you confide in them, if they're your friend or something, it's very unlikely that they're going to go and tell everyone and spill the beans on you. Now, don't get me wrong, people here do like to gossip, especially girls. They do talk stuff, but keep in mind that like if you're talking to a friend or like, someone on a personal level, it's very unlikely that they're going to go take the personal crap that you told them and run off and try to ruin your life with it. That type of stuff just doesn't happen. Can it happen? Yes, there's exceptions to every rule, but for the most part, if you confide in someone, you can definitely trust them. They will never tell a soul the things that you told them. Number 14, they're not argumentative. So what I mean by that is they do not go out of their way to try to start stuff, kind of like how I said earlier. They're not trying to get into fights, etc. But also, when you have disagreements, they don't try to go back and forth with you to try to, prove that they're right and, try to make a point and then start throwing in your mother and like, oh, that's why you can't lose weight, you fat fuck. They don't do that type of stuff. Instead, it stays on topic and they actually listen. A lot of the time when people argue, I'm guilty of this, instead of listening to the other person, you're just busy thinking of the next point that you want to make to prove the other person wrong. Instead, they're actually peaceful, calm, and quiet with their arguments, and they know how to listen, and they're not afraid of admitting that they're wrong. They'll tell you like, oh, I never thought of it this way, or oh, like I see, I understand, etc. Now, don't get me wrong, people can do this just to get out of the argument. There's a difference, and you'll learn that stuff later. But for the most part, people here don't like have arguments that cause like end of friendship type things because you disagree on politics. That type of stuff doesn't happen. Instead, they'll be like, really, you think this? And then they'll tell you why they think otherwise. And it'll probably convince you to change your mind. So they have good, constructive arguments and conversations, not ones that lead to fights and, loss of friendships, etc. Again, it depends on who you're talking to and what it's about. But for the most part, they can argue and talk about things like adults. They don't try to hurt your feelings, make you feel bad, and get off subject or just, becomes a shouting contest. They have real debates, real arguments, like how mature adults should and can do. Number 15, they work together as a team. So I actually get paid a lot more than my coworkers do, especially the Japanese staff, which for a lot of people, especially in America, I would pretty much be the outcast for a lot of reasons. For starts, I'm the youngest person at my company, despite the fact that I have the highest position. And with that said, a lot of people do feel jealous-hearted, and I'll get into this on another topic, but I almost didn't get my job because the person that was hiring me felt threatened by me. And this happened more than once, but we'll talk about that later. But these people weren't Japanese. That's the key. Japanese people are not competitive when it comes to work. They actually try to help you out. So I'm also that employee that you would hate working with at retail. I will snitch on you. If you're making my work harder for me, you're not doing your end, picking up your slack, I am going to tell the manager. I will act like I am the manager because you're making my work harder. And I don't think that is fair for us to be getting paid the same amount when I'm having to babysit and take care of your end of things. So, with that said, you don't have to do that in Japan. Your Japanese coworkers will, work as though they're getting paid $100 an hour. They do not slack off. They do not act like bums regardless of how little they're getting paid. They're not trying to sneak around and avoid doing work for the most part. Same thing goes for, other work. Like, for example, I no longer work retail at the moment, although I wouldn't mind considering doing something as a small part-time job. But, like when you do have work like that, your coworkers don't act bitter because they know you're getting paid more or because you're overqualified like I am. They don't treat you badly. Instead, they continue to help you. They continue to try to give you advice. They continue to try to, make things easier for you. And they take initiative. They don't wait for you to ask for help. They don't wait for management to say, hey, help this person. They do things on their own. And I absolutely love that about Japanese people. These are things that are not commonly seen and found in America. I'm normally like that in America, but me being like that isn't appreciated. Instead, people will hate me because I hate working with that snitchy bitch always. I'm the person you don't want to work with on the shift. I can talk crap about the customers and tell you how I feel about my job, but I'm not going to, how can I put it? I'm not going to put up with you not doing your end because it means I have to do your work, and it's not fair that you're going to get paid for me doing your work. So, we'll talk about that stuff later. We're talking about Japan for now. Number 16, they're not loud and obnoxious. Japanese people generally talk rather quietly, even if it's a funny conversation, etc. I hate people that are really loud, obnoxious, talk super loud like my dad. I can't stand ghetto people. It irritates the crap out of me. I don't like everybody being in my business, especially when it's personal conversations. I hate people that are so unaware of the fact that they're annoying the people around them by talking so loudly, whether it's them laughing, joking, talking, whatever. I just can't stand people like that. Like, just be quiet, stay on the same volume as everyone else. Number 17, they clean up after themselves. It's very rare for, someone to purposefully leave a mess somewhere and make things, dirty and not clean up behind themselves. Littering is rare. They're not going to leave the bathroom a mess, etc. They really care, once again, about looking out for the people behind them. I love the fact that you can walk into a bathroom and you don't have to worry about, the stall being dirty. It rarely happens. If you go to a tourist area, it's possible that, maybe a tourist did it. I hate the stereotype, but I'm just saying that's normally when you do see a dirty bathroom. It's rare. It does happen. Yes, Japanese people can do this too. I went to the bathroom recently and somebody smeared doo-doo on the walls. But I won't lie, I do think it was a tourist that did that. But yeah, they generally clean up behind themselves. They don't leave messes. They will, pick up every single last crumb, piece of paper, whatever they left behind. They will wipe things down thoroughly. They consider, the fact how, them not cleaning up behind themselves can make things harder for the next person. And the fact that they don't want to have to sit in a dirty seat or work on a dirty surface themselves. So that is something that I really like about Japanese people. Number 18. Okay, that number seemed weird for a second. Number 18, they love to teach you about their language and culture. So if you ask them any questions about Japan, they are pretty much an open book. They love to educate foreigners on Japan. So despite what you might have seen, read, and heard about them hating tourists, foreigners, whatever, they really love to educate people. They love to, promote Japan. They love to put Japan on a pedestal and make you, I can't really explain it. They like to talk about the good things about their country. And it's on a different level. Like, it's not the same way that Americans do. Like, in America, we talk about how great America is. That's the greatest country in the world, blah, blah, blah. But we never really talk about why. The closest you get to that is, oh, look at the diversity. But in Japan, they want to explain all of the different things of their culture, from their food to their history, etc. They like to talk about that, and they love to teach you those things. They love to teach you how they do stuff. My friends love to try to educate me on, Japanese history and on what to do at shrines, etc. And they're always really impressed and amazed when I already know these things. And especially when I talk to older people, I've learned to just play dumb so that they can talk, because they love to educate foreigners. So I just pretend like I didn't know stuff that I do. But yeah, they love having these type of conversations with you. Number 19, they're very honest and straightforward when it comes to business and contracts, etc. if you ask any questions, you'll more than likely get the 100% honest answer, no hidden tricks, fees, etc. They will tell you everything up front. Keyword is as long as you ask. Normally they will tell you on their own, but every once in a while they might forget something or purposefully leave it out. But again, it's very rare. It doesn't normally happen. Normally, you know, anything you ask, they will be 100% honest with you and tell you the exact amount you'll pay, exactly when things are due, exactly what cancellation fees are. They'll tell you the truth about the condition of the place that you're renting, etc. Don't get me wrong, there are liars and bad people. I've definitely come across them before. But for the most part, most people are not like this, and instead you'll get nothing but honesty from people. And that is really great. And last but not least, number 20, Japanese people pretty much follow the rules for everything, everywhere. So not just the bathroom and not just, you know, wherever, but for anything, not just with littering. They do not like to break rules. They, you know, give pedestrians the right of way when they're driving, which is, you know, ridiculously amazing. Like, people in America are like the rudest, worst, you know, whatever drivers. And in Japan, while people joke about Asians being bad drivers, they're really just cautious drivers. They follow the rules. They give pedestrians the right of way. They, you know, apologize, you know, if they have to go ahead of you or whatever. Like, they're really, how can I put it? They're very thoughtful, but not just a matter of, you know, being thoughtful. They follow the rules that were there in the first place. So, for example, in America, we're taught that pedestrians have the right of way, but they don't really give that to them. We're taught, you know, oh, you know, you should let, you know, elders, whatever, go first, etc. Japan has other problems dealing with elders, like on trains, but we're not going to get on that. Again, we're staying with the positive stuff. People generally do reserve the handicap the handicap seating area for those who are truly disabled or pregnant, etc., which I do like and appreciate here in Japan. Cannot say the same for America. People will sit there. If there's a sign up telling you to not do something, they will follow it. If there isn't a sign up and they're afraid that they can't do something, they will assume that they can't and they won't do it. There's not a lot of rule bending and rule breaking, etc. that goes on here. People are generally very honest. Of course, there are scammers, there's thieves, there's people that break rules, there's people that don't care. All of that stuff exists. At the end of the day, Japanese people are, of course, still human after all. But for the most part, they follow the rules down to a T. They don't like to break them, and it causes Japan to be a very harmonious place, or harmonious. So I forgot the word. See, I'm forgetting English, people. But yeah, it really, you know, that's part of what makes this country, you know, a fun and nice place to live in, is because there's so much balance and so much order. People oftentimes complain about the rules in Japan, but that's part of what makes Japan, Japan. Not in regards to racist or bad stuff, but when it comes to, you know, following things. There's of course bad sides to every good thing, and there's always extreme stuff, as I mentioned, but for the most part I actually like all of these little rules because it teaches people how to be good people. It teaches you how to consider others, to pick up and clean up after yourself, to not expect a mate, to not expect everyone to do all the hard and dirty work for you. I love that about this country. And again, there's bad things too, but let's talk about some nice, positive, uplifting things for once. So that is my list of 20 things that I love about Japanese people. If there's anything else that I missed on this list that you can probably think of that you like about Japanese people, please add that to the comments down below, or you can send me an email as well and I'll add them myself. Aside from that, I would really appreciate it if you would like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Other than that, I also have an Instagram, Twitter, and a Snapchat as well, and I would appreciate it if you would follow me on those accounts. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.